Golden Knights having great success so far this year. Does that put any pressure on you guys to succeed?
Who are the Golden Knights? No, only pressure is that the sniping that people say you got to do as good as them.
It's just good. Vegas is treating us well, and I think the record doesn't show how hard that we work, and it's tough in that way, but it's good for us in the inner circle to understand what we have going on in Vegas, and if we just continue to trust and believe in each other, the sky's the limit for this team, and I'm blessed to be a part of it.
Our expectations maybe at the start of the season were a little unrealistic.
Man, we're not even worried about the playoffs right now. What we do is we take it week by week. We gotta worry about next week. You start looking ahead and you start looking over people, you might not even make it. So
that being said, to me, Urban Meyer is one of the lowest pieces of garbage there is on this earth.
What's going on, everybody? You already know what it is. It's your boy Jose V coming to you live from Las Vegas, Nevada. You are tuned into another episode of Straight Bet Sports. I know, not the normal scenario background that you're used to. I'm not in the studio. I'm hanging out in the loft at the crib tonight. We're doing the show on a more interview-style basis. We're trying to switch things up. Me and Ian are still going to be doing our thing like we do from time to time. That's not going to change. We were on SportsX Radio last night on 101.5 K-Don. Here, 101.5 FM, filling in for Ken Thompson on SportsX Radio. Fun time there. We had a great show. If you guys missed that, check out the archives on the Odyssey app, AUDACY, the Odyssey app, streaming live everywhere. Not only that, you can check out the archives of the show we had last night. We had our guy, Dwayne Colucci, Rampart Racing Sportsbook Manager, joining us talking about the handle with all things college basketball. Crazy games yesterday. We talked about that and all the action that was coming in. We also had our guy, Marvin Coleman, on the show, former UNLV running rebel. Evansville point guard as well, finished out his college career there, his final season there. We talked to him about that, how that was, which is good because it's going to be a topic of conversation that we're having today with the guest that we're going to have on, which is the transfer portal, right? Marvin was a part of that for the first time in his career, getting out of UNLV and having to go somewhere else and try to find a different location for him to go and play some ball and finish out his college career, which he did that. But the guest we're going to have tonight, it's someone that I feel doesn't get the opportunity to speak as much. And what I mean by that, more people need to listen to this individual. If you're a big person when it comes to college sports or college basketball in Las Vegas, especially UNLV sports, then you should know who this individual is. Now, not going against UNLV. We're not here to bash anyone or nothing like that. That's not what this show is about tonight. We're talking about the transfer portal. And is it good for college basketball, right? Is it good for UNLV? Is it good for college programs all around the country right now as we speak? When you have teams bringing in a lot of different guys trying to create teams for that season, when all you have is transfer portal guys, doesn't really create the type of, how can I say this, the legacy, the lasting legacy, the tradition that you would expect from a college. So I wanted to get our guy, Coach Che Jones, on here with us today to talk a little bit about the transfer portal and what we got going on. But before I get him on here, I'm going to ask you guys like I do every single week. Drop that comment, drop that like, press that share. Let everyone know what it is you are tuned into, and we will go from there. We greatly appreciate you. Again, we are live on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. If you search Straight Bet Sports, we are live on all of those platforms. Now, if you missed this show, you can always catch it later on as well. If you're not someone that likes to watch but listen, because that's the type of things you're into, we're also available on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Google, Stitcher, whatever you want. We are there. You can find us. So we greatly appreciate all the love and all the support. Last night was crazy, man. A lot of crazy college basketball. I definitely want to talk a little bit about those games with our guest here, and then we're going to get into our topic of the night. So before I do so, let me go ahead and bring in our guest, our guy, Ched Jones. What's good, my guy? How are you doing?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
Hey, I'm excited because you and I spoke on the phone already earlier this morning.
Yeah.
We had our text conversation the last couple days, and you also brought something to light to me that I feel very stupid that I didn't know that I should have known, especially someone covering media out here in Vegas. But like you said, I wasn't around during that certain time, right? And now what I mean by that is let's jump on this topic right off the bat. It's the assist record in the NCAA that was broken last night, right? In the NCAA tournament for a game. Talk a little bit about that and how much it means to you, because you were very vocal to me about how you felt it really wasn't recognized as much out here as it should have been.
We're talking about a guy who was a quality point guard, who was a consummate point guard who kind of set the tone for a lot of us Vegas guys as to what a point guard looks like. Playing with elite players, you often get lost in the sauce, getting the ball to these guys. Today's game is a little bit different because everybody kind of shoots the ball. Everybody has the opportunity to go score 25, 30 points. But back then, point guards, their responsibility was to get the ball to the guys that could fill it up. At that time, those guys were Gerald Patio, who I think is one of the best shooters UNLV has ever had, and obviously Freddie Banks. But the guy that got the ball to these guys was none other than Mark Wade. Mark Wade was a pass first, pass second, pass third point guard, okay? He would always find somebody, not only find them open, but find them in rhythm. And the other side of being a point guard is not only did he get the ball to people, but he also took care of the basketball. He wasn't a guy that could give you 7 or 8 assists, but also turn the ball over 3 or 4 times. He was a guy that took care of the basketball for the vast majority of the game and really made great plays. I think as a community has nothing to do with UNLV. As a community, I think we dropped the ball in recognizing such a great rebel, such a great player. This is a guy who had a record in the Final Four against Indiana in 1987, had 18 assists. Okay, as you know, the record last night, broken by Marquise, was 19 assists. Okay, Mark had this record it held for 36 years. The Final Four has incrementally gotten better year after year after year, to the point where it rivals the Super Bowl as the top sporting event every single year. It surpassed the World Series, NBA playoffs even, okay? And for 36 years, this record has stood. 18 assists. More importantly, 0 turnovers, okay? It really set the tone for not only, I think I like in Las Vegas to be second to New York City when it comes to point guards. We really produce great point guards out here. Okay. And one of the first guys that really set that tone on the national elite level was Mark Wade. And he was the predecessor to Greg Anthony. And we all know the success that Greg had as a point guard here at UNLV. So for so many Las Vegans to have, number one, no idea that he broke that. But more importantly, the fact that when they saw his name on the board, a lot of them, it didn't resonate to them that this is Mark Wade. It didn't resonate to him. So, I think I think we collectively, not, and like you said, we're not here to bash UNLV. This isn't necessarily a UNLV thing. I think this is a Las Vegas thing. We get tired of things quickly, like we did when we were kids. You get that new toy for Christmas, and by the time your birthday rolls around, it's collecting dust, or like some of our wives and their treadmills.
Yeah. Oh my! Hey, if I could show you the room next to me, you'd see the treadmill the wife has right there.
You mean the coat rack?
The coat rack, exactly. That's where you hang the
So
stuff that you take out the washer that you don't want to put in the dryer. That's where you put it.
so yeah, I think that you've seen that with some of the hotels and the properties around town. We tear things down, we get rid of things, and we move on to the next thing. And I do think it's important to move forward. But as I posted earlier, our past is our past, and it's beautiful, it's storied, it's turbulent, it's a lot of things, but it is our past. And if we don't do a better job of recognizing our past, the present is going to move right past us.
So I want to share the video that you posted on Twitter just to give some
Okay.
people an understanding of how much not only this record meant to you as an individual in the city of Las Vegas, but as a rebel, right? For the rebel program at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's time for me to talk to my man, a legend, right here. They don't understand, man. Hey, I'm here with the dude that's inspired me as a point guard as a kid. Last night, a great thing happened in college basketball. Young kid Marquise Noel broke a record that stood for 36 years. This is the man who originally had it. Las Vegas, stand up, show love to this man right here. 18 assists in regulation, 0 turnovers, okay? That's how you do it. Mark Wade, man, we appreciate you. You have been a mentor to me. You have been a guy that I looked up to for the longest. I appreciate you. We're going to talk about you more today, man.
All love, Ted.
My man. Love you, brother.
Love you too.
Hey, be safe on the road.
And again, I show that video not to harp on it or to throw it in anybody's face, but that just shows at the end of the day that I look at it this way, okay, Che? And this is from what me and you were talking about earlier. You even mentioned how I wasn't around during that time. You know what I mean? I've been here since 2007, but I knew about the program obviously before me coming here. Obviously, I've known more of it because I was a fan before I started doing media. So I've seen the ins, the outs, the coaches, the head coaching changes, the ups, the downs, the question marks about the alumni, things of that nature. Why aren't certain individuals around? Why aren't other individuals getting opportunities to come back and help this program build to what it used to be? But then I also take a step back and I ask myself, why aren't we asking this about parents and original UNLV fans? And what I mean by that, our fans from the 80s, from the early 90s, the grassroots, the original people that were here, right? I'm pretty sure a lot of those had kids. Those kids probably already have kids now as well. So those people have grandchildren. Yeah. I think, and again, not talking down to the UNLV community or the Las Vegas community at all, but looking from the outside in, I would say that we've probably done a bad job as a UNLV community, as a fan base, for the original fan base to continue that legacy within their family. Now, again, we all have different views. Some of us might say, well, it's hard to follow a program that sucks or they can't win this and that. My mindset is different. Whether the program wins 1 game or 30 games, I'm still going to go support and be there in the stands, whether I'm media or I'm a fan, because at the end of the day, I did play sports when I was younger. I knew what it was like when people were there rooting you on as to where there was no one there. It's a big difference and it's a huge feeling. So would you say that maybe the Las Vegas Valley hasn't done that great of a job as grooming our kids coming up to become UNLV fans?
Well, definitely. The responsibility to preserving history is on the shoulders of the ancestors. Okay, it's not necessarily up to the book writers. It's up to us. And who are those ancestors? Those are the people that are today in their 60s and 70s that were young people and watching those games at the time and saw not only how the program went to, just unbelievable heights, but more importantly, what this program did to change the complexion of basketball in general. Okay. When you look at the way basketball is played today and you go back to the mid-late 80s, early 90s, there was only one team on earth that played this way. And that was right there at 4505 South Maryland Parkway. That style of play is very, very common now. You saw last night, you saw UConn really take control of the game early on and really put Arkansas on their heels, trying to play that pace of a game, filling lanes, getting post guys running down the middle of the floor, pushing the ball 80, 70 feet with one dribble and one pass, really forcing guys to defend the entire basketball court as opposed to just 4 or 5 feet around the basket. That style of play was a style of play that was born here, and now let's not get crazy. A lot of programs tried to run that way, but they didn't have the proper personnel. What Coach Tarkanian and his staff did at that time was play a style of basketball that a lot of people at the times wanted to say wasn't real basketball. But he structured it, and he made it in a way that it was almost impossible to compete against a team playing that way if you weren't in the level of conditioning that they were, and you weren't able to mimic that in practice. Okay. And this is what I said. Remember, I said this about Princeton. The biggest problem with matching up with teams like this, it isn't a contrast of styles. That's obvious to fans. What the real thing is how do you prepare for that? Because your kids can't do that. Guess what? If your kids could do that, they'd be playing there instead of for you, right?
Exactly.
So the truth of the matter is, it's a testament to playing a style of basketball that was so uniquely different than what everyone else was doing, and then having not just success, but the type of success that still to this day people will say that that team may have been one of the best college basketball teams, maybe even teams, period. Okay, it's a great team. It's up there with some of those wooden teams, right? So you win with that, you get to an astronomical height, and you slowly but surely see the style of the style of play, the aura of the team, the connectedness of the players and their coaches and their fan base. You saw that begin to permeate itself across college basketball. You saw first Michigan adopt that style, okay? And it's no coincidence that a kid from Detroit was a part of that, and kids from Michigan began to do it. The next thing you know, that was pretty much the way college basketball looked from there on out.
Once again, you're tuning to Straight Bet Sports live here on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. We got our guy, Coach Chet Jones, joining us live here from Las Vegas, Nevada. We're both in Vegas, so we're talking UNLV basketball, but we also want to talk about the transfer portal. Now, I'm going to bring up a video here, which some people may laugh at the end of the video because it's a funny comment, but it's very true. Chet was on our show a little over a year ago when we were back at Gorilla Cross Radio. Big shout out to Quan at Gorilla Cross. I'm still working there, by the way. Engineering shows, doing other things. We were in the studio and we were talking college basketball. We were talking transfer portal because the fact that UNLV had 9 guys at the time coming in through the transfer portal, which is one thing that I've always said. The transfer portal, to me, from my understanding as a fan and as a media member, has always been for you to grab that 1 or 2 individuals that you may need to complete your team that you feel you may be missing to possibly make that run or be that better team that season, right? Not to bring in a whole recruitment of a roster in 9 guys and think we're going to gel from day one. I mean, again, I think we've seen that with UNLV because we saw that towards the end of the season where some of the games looked like they were getting a lot better together overall as a cohesive unit. But then you also saw them fall apart at times where you didn't expect that to happen, right?
Yeah.
So it's just, to me, I don't know how Kevin thinks he can succeed year in and year out bringing in pure transfer portal guys. Now, before we get your thoughts on the transfer portal, I'm going to put up the video here real quick, and then we'll go ahead and talk about it after that. But it's tough, man. If you're going to recruit kids and you're going to bring them out and you're going to try to, show them some type of dream or try to basically give them something, then you got to create more than just, hey, we're going to be a transfer portal team. We're going to try to bring in guys and we're going to try to create something, and I want you to do something that you've never done before. You're adding more stress to that kid when it comes to that season, in my opinion. But this is what Chet had to say on the show a little over a year ago. Check it out.
That's the one thing that really gets lost of what's happening with Kevin right now. I can't think of a situation in which a guy brings in 10 new faces.
Yeah.
That seldom happens in football.
It doesn't happen.
You know what I mean?
At all.
And you're talking about guys who were Justin Webster, put up numbers where he was. Mike Nuga put up numbers where he was. Josh Baker was a JUCO, like a guy coming out of JUCO that can get it done. All right. Then you have other guys that didn't get a lot of minutes. So you got those 3 guys are getting less minutes than 3 guys who didn't play at all last year. Now, these guys that were averaging 2 points, 3 points are now averaging 15, 16, 17. So now, what's their mentality? What are they thinking? Since I had 15 last night, I should get 15 again tomorrow? Or are the guys that are saying, hey, I averaged 17 points a game last year and I'm only playing 4 minutes. When I get in there, I'm jacking it up. It's hard to deal with all those different personalities. That's the situation I'm telling you I would not want to be in. And this is the downside of the portal. The portal is a beautiful car with a bad transmission.
It's a beautiful car.
It looks good. It looks good. It looks. You hop in and you turn it on, and you're like, damn.
Hey, now it may sound funny to a lot of people, but for people that know, that comment right there couldn't be farther from the truth, right? And it elaborate a little more on what you meant and what you felt by that when you were saying that. What
first and foremost, first and foremost, I think that people have to understand the precarious situation that Kevin was put in the very beginning. Okay, you're talking about a guy who is a young coach, not just chronologically, but just in the profession. He's new to the profession. He's a young coach. He's finding his way. And will his way be, Lon Kruger 2.0, or will it be Kevin Kruger, for, the first go round? And he's finding his way. I think he needs to be given the freedom to find his way. Okay. With that being said, I don't think there was another coach in America that took over a program that he got there and looked, and the cupboards were bare. He had Bryce Hamilton, Reese Brown. Like he didn't have enough guys to put 5 on the court when he walked through the door. So he had to do something. So in retrospect, we can say, well, the portal wasn't great for him and instead because the team didn't get to the NCAAs. But the truth of the matter is this. Think of it from this perspective. The better players, the more advanced, hungry players would have come out of JUCO. Now, I'm a JUCO guy. I've coached the majority of my career at junior colleges, right? However, I know firsthand that you cannot rely on JUCO kids, because not all JUCO kids are ready or astute academically to be able to come in and handle the rigors of playing a sport and getting it done in the classroom. And if there's any place in America where you can't bring kids in that are going to flunk out before Christmas, it's UNLV. The reality is, and we talk about our past, the reality is this: there is zero tolerance here for students that can't get it done. There's zero tolerance here for kids that are trying to take the shortcut. So that's another obstacle that's in Kevin's way. And maneuvering his way through that, both here in the city and nationally, is something that's difficult, and it would be difficult for anyone, regardless of how long you've been coaching the game. So that, with that being said, you have to weigh the options. Are you going to get freshmen that may miss their girlfriend come the first game by Midnight Madness? Are you going to get JUCO kids who still are struggling academically? Okay. Or are you going to roll the dice and say, I'm going to go with this kid who has been at a Division I school for 2 years, for 3 years. Okay. He can handle what this takes every single day. He understands the decorum of being a Division I athlete. These other 2 options, they are not ready. Okay. Now, that's year 1. Year 2, due to graduation, some guys leaving, you're kind of faced with the same situation. So building a culture has kind of gotten lost in just trying to field a team, field a roster. So when I say he needs to be given the opportunity and the freedom to find his way, that's what he needs. He needs someone to get the community to relax a little. He needs someone to help him identify what type of portal kids are the best, because I liken the portal to recruiting junior college basketball.
Okay.
If any team in America, you go and say, I'm taking 7 JUCO kids. Let me tell you, as much as I love the NCAA, that is a risk that I don't think it is wise to take. there's so many reasons that I have experienced all of them. There are so many reasons why that's not a good idea. Okay. So I think we're all at the moment trying to figure out how the portal fits in, because it's not an academic issue that we're concerned with. It's not necessarily an ability issue that we're concerned with, because regardless of how you cut it, at one point in time, these kids were the cream of the crop. That's why they were Division I recruits. Okay. Something somewhere along the line, there was some kind of something that happened that didn't allow these kids to either fulfill their potential or they lost interest. I mean, if you're playing at Kansas State and you're doing well, and then all of a sudden, here comes Keontae Johnston, what are you going to do? Because he's playing.
It's tough.
He's going to play. Okay. If you're at you're at some place, and then the big kid from Edie from Purdue decides to transfer because his girlfriend got in a master's program somewhere in California, and now all of a sudden at 6'9", you look up and here's 7'4" coming on campus. The portal might be for you. All right. So I think we're all at that stage. We're trying to figure out where the portal fits into recruiting, conferences. Just there's a myriad of things that precede whether or not the portal is good. Now, the flip side of that is you have a lot of kids who were over-recruited. They were never Division I athletes. Maybe they're part of a package deal. Maybe coaches didn't do the due diligence to figure out that, hey, this kid is averaging 35 a game, but he's shooting, he's a 20, 40, 60 kid.
Yeah.
He ain't going to be able to make free throws in the Thomas and Mack. Okay. Or you may look, and this kid is, he's playing up in, Winnemucca, and he's averaging 40 a game, and he's never played against anybody over 6'4". And sometimes you get a kid who he was not necessarily over-recruited, but other guys develop, other guys get better or whatever. We have to figure out, not the NCAA, but we need to figure out as coaches how we're going to utilize the portal. Just like JUCO basketball, coaches that figure some conferences don't even recruit JUCO, right? Then there's some conferences, they live off of JUCO.
Yeah.
So I think you got to figure out how it fits in. I don't necessarily think that the portal is a bad thing. I don't necessarily agree with it. I think that it really, really does, in a lot of ways, it contradicts what we're trying to teach kids when they go to college.
So basically what I'm taking from everything that you're saying, just me sitting here listening, right? At the end of the day, portal, good, not necessarily bad, right? But what
Yes.
I'm understanding is that there needs to be more of an understanding on how to use the portal from coaches, right? Coaches need to understand what the portal is really about and what you're going to get from the portal, right? You said it yourself. There may be some coaching staffs that lack that individual on the coaching staff that can go after that type of individual, that type of player that is in the transfer portal, right? Because not necessarily are you always going to get a guy in the transfer portal because of something negative. Some guys might be graduate transfers that just decide they want to go somewhere else for the last year, right?
Yes.
They wrote it out. They had a great 4 years somewhere.
And kudos to Justin Webster.
Yes.
Kudos to Justin Webster. Justin Webster graduated. He's been graduated. He's staying here. And he's one of the first kids I think I've seen across the country to post, "I'm staying," as opposed to, "Thank you, I'm moving on." And I don't think, just like the Mark Wade thing, I don't think we put a lot of blame on Kevin. We put a lot of blame on TJ. We put a lot of blame on Harper.
It's easy to blame the coaches, right? Because that's normally where you can point the finger right away.
We're going to look at ourselves. This kid did the right thing. Bryce Hamilton stayed for 4th year. I know firsthand the programs that he had an opportunity to go to, that he would have played, and they had a run in the NCAAs. Okay? He stays. You got Justin Webster, when everybody's wondering whether or not he's going to stay or he's going to go, he comes out and says, "I'm staying. Let's do it one more time." And I think we need to be appreciative of that.
Yeah.
We need to be thankful of that. But like I said, I think the problem with the portal if there is a problem, this is where the problem lies, is that it goes against what we're teaching young people when they go to college. Mommy and daddy aren't here to hold your hand. You have to face adversity. Things are never as good as they seem. They're never as bad as they seem. But facing this adversity and getting over it is what's going to ultimately make you better no matter what it is you end up doing. And when we give them in this culture that's grown up gaming and having a handheld device in their hand, things don't go right. They restart, they reset.
Yeah.
So we're now allowing them to reset in life. My biggest gripe with the academic, with the educational system is that there's no such thing as a zero anymore. If you do the assignment and there's 10 questions and you miss 9 of them, you get 10%. If I don't even do it, I get 50%. Now, how does that make any sense, right? So there's a big difference. An F is an F, yes, but 50% as opposed to 10% or 0% is a big difference. So now you have kids that don't even do assignments, and then at the last second, they can turn in the assignment because you can always make up work, and they have 50%. So now they can say, oh, that 50% there doesn't matter that much. I'll focus on this one that's worth 200 points. You know, we're allowing them to push the reset button in real time now, as opposed to just on a video game or just on their cell phone. And that's what I think the portal does. The portal is an extension of that mentality that, hey, we'll just hit the reset button when things aren't going the way that we like, rather than say, hey, I guess I need to learn the different levels. Maybe I need to get a little bit better at this. Maybe I need to focus on it. We don't force kids to do those things. We just allow them to reset.
How frustrating is it for you knowing the culture of UNLV, knowing the culture of the city when it comes to basketball, and watching these games, watching this season, and not only watching now, you're covering this team. You're covering this team, Che. You're out there every night. And when they're on the road, you're at home watching these games, analyzing. At the end of the day, you are a coach. Maybe not a coach for UNLV, but you are a coach, and that will never change, ever. No. So I'm pretty sure you're very analytical of the team, not in a negative way to where you're ever going to post or bring this team down at all. But anything that you ever say is all factual, if I'm being honest. The conversations that I have with you, whether they're brief, whether it's a text message, whether it's a phone call, you've never lied about anything you've seen on or off the court. Mm-hmm. You and I have been at games where there's times where I'm watching the game and you're talking my ear off, but you're the only person. No, I mean this respectfully. You're the only person that I will sit there and let talk to me because you are pumping more knowledge into me as I'm watching this game. Mm-hmm. You point out things that other people may not see that are also sitting courtside, or people that may be at home watching on the television that have a better view. You point out things that maybe some of the coaches, with all due respect on that coaching staff, haven't noticed or haven't looked at, or may not be paying attention because they're putting too much focus on another individual, right? Mm-hmm. And talk a little bit about that and how you can handle that without blowing up, because we know the world of social media and how it is now. It's easy to be hot and grab your phone and put some things into words and then later go, holy shit, what did I do? I shouldn't have done this, right? So what do you do? What do you tell yourself since you've been covering this team now that you've been back?
Well, you know, the biggest thing for me is that, you know, I've lived my life trying to not say or do things that I'll regret later. Does that always work? No. But I believe that if your heart is in the right place, 9 times out of 10, you're going to do and say as close to the right thing as possible. My intentions is, I think if we could even go back and find that I thought that if Rick Pitino didn't get the job, that Kevin Kruger is right there and he may be the guy, right? I want him to be successful, not so much because of my relationship with Kevin or even because he's at UNLV and played here. It's more or less as a coach. There's a brethren amongst us. And listen, we don't want to see anybody get fired. You know, I fortunately have never been fired. And I can't imagine that feeling, especially for guys like Dave Rice and for Kevin Kruger, who this is their home. They love this place. And I don't want the bad to fall on their shoulders, which I heard that Dave may be up for the New Mexico State job. And if so, good luck. We I really hope that works out for him, but that's a side note. But however, you know, I think that like as you say, and a lot of people say this when they sit next to me, it's like I'm like one of those military guys that, something, every time they hear a noise, they jump under the table. It's stuck. I'm just that. So I see the things that I usually get antsy about on the side. It's just effort things that I see kids doing. I think those are more of an issue for UNLV than whether or not coaches know what they're doing or this, that, and the other. I really think that sometimes, and mind you, we are responsible for coaching effort.
Correct.
And when I say coach effort, I mean you either do it or you don't play. And I think that sometimes I see that with kids, and I'm like, holy crap, he's running the same speed as the ref. And I'm sure that ref is older than me.
Faster than the ref.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So come on, those are the things that really, really bother me. Effort. And that, I think, is what happens when you don't, and this is what people's complaint was about back in the day with JUCO guys. They're not like the four-year guys who eat, breathe, and live this school and this campus and its culture. They're here because it's an opportunity. So if you and I work, you and I go get jobs working at Walmart in the back, and they're going to pay us $250,000. We don't care about Sam Walton. We don't care about the price drops or anything. We just want $250,000. So we're back there to not caring, right?
Yeah.
But the people that are there from the beginning and are grassroots individuals, they want to see it succeed. Yeah. And I think that sometimes, and that's the biggest gripe I think that you have with the portal, is guys come in 1 year and it's very hard to get them to either buy in like that, or by the time they buy in, it's all over. I think that's the beauty of what you see with Justin Webster and Jordan McCabe, guys that embraced this culture. So when I see the fan base so ready to, I love the fact that Isaiah Cottrell goes on social media and says, how do you expect us to build a culture when you guys aren't even going to support the coach? Speak up, young fella.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Talk about your mama. Don't let nobody talk about your coach. And I respect that.
Exactly.
I respect that. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's difficult for me. I think it's more difficult for me. Like, I took a step back from going to practice. I said to a couple of people, going to practice.
Wait. From going to UNLV practices during the season?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Oh, man. It's because it's like, it would be like my wife and I getting a divorce. She meets a new guy who's a great guy. He's a great guy, right? I see him every day. And then I see him and load up the car to go on vacation. And they're like, hey, Che, we're leaving. Could you check the dogs for us and get the mail? Like, yeah, I got you guys. Have fun.
Yeah, sure.
It's hard. It's not an easy thing to do. Games aren't as bad, but practice was getting a little much. And I would either leave just kind of in a mood, or I would just be down. You know what I mean? Because the bigger picture is I'm not coaching.
Gotcha.
I'm not coaching. So when you were a kid and you wanted a bike for Christmas and you didn't get one, you go outside and all the kids in the neighborhood have bikes.
You were mad about it.
Yeah, it's not good, So, but yeah, man, it is difficult. It is difficult to see not the way things are run as much as it is to see that we're not having the success that none of us want. Kevin's goal wasn't to start out 10-0 and be a 5th or 6th seed or whatever it was in the Mountain West Conference. That wasn't his goal. That wasn't EJ Harkless's goal. Their goal was, the 1st of January, their goal was to run through the Mountain West Conference and get a good seeding in the NCAA tournament. Yeah. But, like Kevin said to me, he was like, at one point in time, we could do nothing wrong. But now we're the worst things in the world. And that's just how social media is. So, it's difficult, and it's difficult for all parties involved. But I think we need to stay the course. I think we need to give everyone an opportunity to breathe, to grow into who they need to become, figure it out, find a way. But let's not be so quick to pull the trigger. I think we've gotten to the point where, I think we've gotten to the point where we want to see a top 10 ranking in the first 2 months of the season. If not, this isn't the guy. Like, you know, we've got to step back a little bit. Okay, it's been a long time since we were on top of the basketball world, and to expect a young coach finding his way who's been dealt a really tough hand these last 2 seasons, having to scrape at the last moment to find players. I think we need to be a little bit more patient. I think we need to be a little bit more patient. I think he needs to have a sense of urgency. And I think those two things can meet in the middle and find some common ground. And, you know, like if we could have been able to get high school kids this season, take the lumps, and then come out and say, hey, listen, we're going to take some lumps this year, but we're going to lean on the Jordan McCabe's and the Keyshawn Gilberts and the Justin Websters, the guys that have been in this conference, that have been here. We're going to lean on those guys and allow them to show these young guys the way. But let me tell you, 2023, here we come. That, I think, would have been, you buy yourself some time, and you also give the fans, you put them on alert and say, hey, we're doing this in a slow pace. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. Yeah. We need you guys to run a pace with us. And we all do this together. Now we all have a vested interest. If Kevin gets 2 T's and gets tossed, we don't say fire him. We say, oh, it's okay, coach. Look, he has passion for you guys. You guys meet his passion. We need to be on the same page. And we're a dysfunctional family right now because the parents and the kids and the extended family and the relatives, they're all over the place. And they're dipping into what goes on behind closed doors over there a little too much. And I think, unfortunately, for Kevin as a young coach, and he's in a very precarious situation in this sense, too. If you think about this, he's a young coach with a Hall of Fame coach as a father. So he has both perspectives. Okay? He has both perspectives. So he has to figure out, do I do it this way, or do I do it the way my dad did? Or do I find my own way? And is that the right way? Because my dad wouldn't have done it this way, or maybe my dad would have done it. You know, he's got a lot of voices on his shoulders. So, you know.
So my other question for you too, because it's been brought to me. What I mean by that, people have been asking me that as well, that follow the program and follows college basketball, that see other individuals that were with the program that might have moved on and gone to other places, right? One of them being Trey Woodbury. Trey Woodbury, Utah Valley, had a really good season, second leading scorer on the team, averaging a little over 13 points, leading assist man on the team, leading 3-point field goal percentage man on the team. I mean, is this something that Kevin missed out on? Is this something that the coaching staff missed out on? Or was just something that didn't fit in their plans? And sometimes, you know, guys go elsewhere and they show out. Is that what happened?
Well, listen, I don't think that's I mean, great player. You know, I don't think that's big as the problem or a thorn in the side of true people on the inside of UNLV basketball. When you look at Julian Strother, a Vegas kid, knocked down the biggest shot of the season last night. And I know firsthand from him that he had some meetings with that staff. And it wasn't Kevin's staff. It wasn't Kevin's staff. At that, you know, and that last night, I mean, as much as I love seeing that kid being successful, love his dad, you know, him hitting that shot was like a punch in the stomach to me last night, man, because I thought numerous times if he was playing here.
Oh, that's what.
You know, and the thing is this, you know, man, if he would have been playing here, and to think him playing alongside Bryce Hamilton, him playing alongside some of the guys over the past few years, it's a totally different story. And I know firsthand that when your program does well, you attract even better players.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Okay. So if there's been a player over the last few years that I think that not we necessarily, listen, you're going to miss kids. You're just not going to get them. Some kids already have in their mind, I don't want to be here anymore. They hate the summers. They hate their friends. They have, you know, they want to get away from everything, you know. So you're going to lose kids. That's just the nature of it. You know, in 2004, we were very good. We were ranked number 1 in the nation the majority of the season. We had a kid from Bishop Gorman, Denard Taylor, who coaches the AAU team, Las Vegas Knicks out here. We had him on that team. We were unbelievable. Great team. And a kid that I almost had come out there with us was Jason Carter, 6'10", lefty, ended up going to the University of San Francisco, was a really good player. We lost in the championship. And often I think how different our team would be with Jason. Yeah. we had 2 All-Americans on that team. 3 guys off that team played extensively at the professional level. But he would have been another piece that I think that we would have been that much better as a second unit, and I think it would have been impossible for teams to beat us. So you're always going to lose out on kids, and you're going to look back and say, man, we would have had that kid or that kid. So, kudos to Trey. Like, great job. And Julian, I mean, last night was a great moment for Las Vegas basketball. Yeah. With the exception of beating the #1 team, a decade ago with Bano's run, Coach Kruger's Sweet 16 run.
I'll put it to you this way. I work with Julian's cousin.
Okay.
His cousin Jazz. I'm talking about close cousins. Like, she talked to me about, hey, I talked to Julian today, this, that, and the other, right? She's super cool. Obviously doesn't share any personal information. That's between them and the family. But I know how passionate they are about basketball. You should have seen her pacing back and forth before being off to go to that game the other day. I told her, Jazz, you guys got this. No, I'm not saying we're not going to win. I'm so nervous. I'm like, Jazz, you guys are going to come out. Julian's going to do his thing. He's going to come up big when it matters. It's going to happen. As soon as the game was over, I FaceTimed her. She was on the court. I told you. She said, oh, my God, I can't believe it. So that just shows you the passion that there is here in Vegas with families, right?
Yes.
I mean, there's so much passion when it comes to basketball, which leads me to my next question with you, which you already brought up, the local kids. I totally understand that there are kids that it's not that they don't like UNLV or that they may dislike the program or anything like that. There's just some kids that live in a different era that their mindset is, I want to go to the North Carolinas. I want to go to the Dukes. I want to go to the Michigan States if I'm that good, right? Yeah. That's what they feel. It's not necessarily that they put UNLV lower at the bottom of the totem pole. It's just some kids see the name, the flash, the pizzazz of the blue bloods. You know what I mean? And they want to be there. Now, how can a program like UNLV, again, not necessarily Kevin, but just in general as a whole, because it also has to come from the top, right? It has to come from Harp, I think, as well, to help with some type of recruitment in any way that he can with the city and the program in general. I don't know how all that works, but how do they find a way to at least tap into more of the local talent and try to keep more? Obviously, you're not going to keep all of it. You already said that. But how do you try to keep more of it? Are they lacking in that department right now?
Well, I'll tell you right now, the local kid that is going to save UNLV program is not the best in his class right now. He may not even be a starter right now. Okay? The kid that's going to save, listen, let's not get it twisted. Matt Offick was the guy that UNLV needed and that Tark wanted and didn't get. Okay? Greg Anthony went to Portland and came back home. Okay? Greg did his thing. He really represented well, won us a national championship, no doubt about it. But if Matt Offick would have came, you might have, you might have never seen Greg. There wouldn't have been an opportunity for Greg here. You know what I mean? So it isn't always the best guy. It isn't always the DJ Thomas. It isn't always, the Mobley. It can be the second for the JoJo Cunninghams. It could be the Tavion Jacksons, guys like that. I thought that a perfect example of that was Anthony Marshall. Jonathan Lloyd and I had a long conversation the other night about this. Okay, Jonathan Lloyd I love saying this. Jonathan Lloyd is probably one of the best athletes to ever come out of Las Vegas. This is a kid who was a starting point guard at Oregon when they won the Pac-12 championship. He also played on a football team. He was a kick returner on a football team, brought a punt back that season when my Ohio State Buckeyes, I don't like that comment you make about Coach Meyer at the beginning, but we're not going to talk about that. When my Buckeyes played them in the national championship.
I did see your face after that.
Yeah. It's funny every time I hear it. But, Jonathan Lloyd is a great player. Great player, right? Went to Oregon, did his thing there on the basketball floor, played at Gorman. Did his thing there. He would have come to UNLV in a heartbeat. And he still says that, right? But the reality is when you're looking to get the best player, yes, that's great. But sometimes it isn't always the best player that makes the difference. Sometimes It's a guy that's a fringe player. It's a guy that's perfect for your system. That's another thing. Kevin isn't necessarily in a place where he can recruit system guys, because in a system, you have 5 or 6 guys that make a system work. 5 or 6 guys aren't going to be available in one class. Yeah. It just isn't going to happen. One's going to be a 2022 kid. It's going to be a 2023 kid. Oh, you got lucky in 2024. You got 2 of them. There's a JUCO kid or a transfer. You build it slowly. It's not like Home Depot when you just go buy the brackets, you go buy the nails, you go buy the screws and 4x4s, and it's not that easy. It takes time to build it. So sometimes you're bringing in a piece, but Kevin hasn't had the luxury of having his system in place and saying, okay, we need a guy that can this, and go out and spend their summer spring looking for that kid, because you don't have enough guys to have 6 guys in workouts. We need bodies, So I think that's another thing that we need to understand that Kevin hasn't had the opportunity to do. So I get you with the local things, but it's kind of like I used to have this argument. When they used to say, well, when are we going to win an Oscar? All these black actors don't. Well, Soul Plane ain't winning an Oscar. Okay. Soul Plane ain't winning an Oscar. For a long time, it was Forrest Whitaker and Denzel. And if they didn't do it, we weren't going to win one that year. So, we got to be realistic about things. And sometimes the local kid he's not better just because he's local. You got to find the right guy. And I think that if in due time, once Kevin has established what his system is and what it looks like and the pieces to that puzzle, we're going to see some kids around town that'll be perfect for it. I personally thought that Tavion Jackson from Las Vegas High School would have been perfect. I thought he would have been really, really good. I thought he would have played very well with Keyshawn. I think that defensively they could have been very, very good. But like I said, I don't necessarily I think it's also unfair to put the burden on the shoulders of one kid. Yeah. If we have a kid that's, a top 10 kid in the nation and say, well, you have to come here. You have to come here. The program needs you. The program needs you. To put that on the shoulders of an 18 or 19-year-old at home is crazy, So, like I said, I keep coming back to this. I think we just have to be patient.
So with all due respect to Kevin, his staff, the whole program and all that, would you say that the program would benefit from an individual as yourself with what you can bring to the table? And what I mean by that, your experience, knowing the city, knowing the program, knowing the culture. Do you feel that you would be an asset if UNLV would give you that opportunity to be a part of this coaching staff?
Oh, yeah. I've said that. I've said that for the last I've said it for 30 years, but I think it's been legitimate for the last 10 years. I've gotten my feet wet. I understand the relationships between players and coaches and the community and all that kind of stuff. There's not a person on earth that loves UNLV more than I do. There's bottom line. I don't care who it is. There's not a person on earth that loves that university and that program more than I do. I've said this to you before. One of the greatest compliments that I've ever been given and all the accolades I've had basketball-wise, playing and coaching, is when Robert Smith, who he had endorsed me when TJ was before TJ was hired, and he said, we need a guy like Jay Jones who's a true rebel. And being recognized by so many of those guys like Anderson and Mark, Richard Botts, Ricky Sobers, and even the younger guys as a rebel is a compliment. I've had my success on the other side of the country. My heart is in Ohio, but I love UNLV, and I will always love UNLV. And UNLV raised me. It raised me as a young player. It raised me ultimately to the coach that I wanted to be and the type of kids that I wanted to help. I understand this city like the back of my hand. I think that I've given and represented this city very well. So I think the city really stands behind me in a lot of things that I do. I think I've, like I said to you before, trying to make sure that you're always on the side of what's right. And I think I've done that for, 52 years is a long time, but I think I've done that for a long enough time that people trust in me and believe in me and how genuine and sincere I am with things. And, I know that I would help any program in the country, but and I don't care what program it is, but I know definitely I would be able to help UNLV's program. There's no question about that to me,
So my final question, my guy, and I'll let you go. We went on for almost an hour here. I thought it was only going to be something between the transfer portal, and that's why I love talking to people like yourself, because we can have a conversation and just go on and not even check the clock, right? That's the best part about
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
because
yeah.
you bring so much knowledge to the table, and I greatly appreciate it. But I've been hearing a lot for the last 3 years about this, and I've also done my due diligence, meaning looking around the arena when I'm there, looking up social media posts of what alumni are and aren't saying. I feel myself, and I'm not attacking the program again. I want to make that clear because we are credentialed by the university. I don't want anyone to think that we're trying to bring this program down, but we do speak on what we see from time to time, right? And and,
Hmm.
and I truly feel that there's not enough alumni presence as at these games. You understand what I'm saying? Not
Yeah.
necessarily saying that UNLV is not respecting the previous alumni or reaching out or any of that. I just don't see enough of them in attendance. Now, again, not sure if that's the university, not sure if that's just the previous players not really caring about the program or whatever it may be. But do you feel the same sentiment as me? Do you feel that we don't have enough in attendance on a night to night basis?
Yeah, but I also think that we don't have enough Las Vegans there. I mean, if we were to take every UNLV football player, women's and men's basketball player from the last 15 years, how many seats you think that would fill?
A lot.
And then they bring their wives and their husbands and their kids. How many seats do you think that would fill? So the fact that alumni aren't in the building isn't the problem, Las Vegas.
Okay.
Isn't the problem, Las Vegas. Okay. But I will say this. If I was a part of that, that would be the first thing that I would do.
Okay.
Is I would really get this alumni to say, listen, it's like kids of divorce. You can't keep complaining and saying what mom did and what dad did. And this, at some point in time, we have to bury that.
Correct.
We got to move forward. Because I think a big problem is former players don't understand what being a coach entails, is aside from the X's and O's and recruiting. They don't understand the pressures that come from the regents, from the administration, from the boosters. They don't necessarily understand that. They don't understand oftentimes what the NCAA does and doesn't allow. Okay. And then I think that sometimes administration doesn't understand that players don't necessarily want, a handout. They just want to walk into an arena that was once home to them with their children or now their significant others that had nothing to do with UNLV. And those people are appreciated. Because as an athlete, I know how much you're giving, but more importantly, what you're not taking, what you're not doing and partaking in. And the things extracurricularly you could be doing that you're not doing because you're devoting yourself to this institution. And once you do that, sometimes you would simply like, thanks. That's all. That's all. I mean, my thanks isn't the fact that they retired my jersey. It's awesome. And my kids talk about it and I talk, it's awesome. But that isn't it. The fact that people remember me there and appreciated me there. And if I go back there, they see me and give me a hug. That's what matters. And I think that oftentimes is what gets lost, is that administration thinks that players want more than they rightfully deserve. And I think that players think that the administration and the coaching staff are not doing things that they probably aren't capable of doing, So somebody needs to bridge that gap.
So look, I'll be 100% honest with you. I'm on your side, and what I mean by that, I think you'd be a great asset, not necessarily just with UNLV, on any coaching staff. Let me throw that out there, okay? I'm being 100% real with you. It's not just about UNLV in general, just your pedigree, what you've done, the way you follow the game, the knowledge that you have, the way you can just sit there and analyze it in and out, knowing you're still not on that sideline for that particular reason. You're just here as a spectator and doing your job. It's just crazy to me that you haven't had that opportunity on the bigger stage. I mean, you've already succeeded. We're not saying you're not a successor. You're way beyond that. But I think that you need to get that opportunity to show what you can do and what you can bring to a program. Like you said, not necessarily a head coaching job, but part of the coaching staff, right? To show what you have and what you can bring. Now, again, I truly hope that Kevin tries to broaden his horizons. And what I mean by that, whether it's you or anyone else, right? Let's try to understand what this program needs and what this program has to become. Because I feel that Kevin is still trying to figure that out. Not saying he can't do it. I think he's still trying to put the pieces together. And you said it perfectly, and I never thought of that. The fact that he does have his dad there, right? And he has that history that his father had, and now he's trying to create his. It's like, where do I go? Do I go left or do I go right, or do I just go right down the middle and try to figure it out and see what happens? And I think that's where he's at right now. I think he's at a crossroads where he's like, I know what I want to do with this program, but I just don't know how to quite do it just yet.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. You know what I mean?
And you need somebody to say, you know what? Let's do it.
Exactly.
Because I mean, sometimes you're scared to jump off. Yeah, you're kind of scared to jump. You just need a friend sometimes to be like, man, let's jump. Come on, let's go. Like, jump in that water.
Definitely. But Che, man, I greatly appreciate you, my brother, so much for giving me an hour of your time. So the thing about this, I'm going to let you know real quick. You're someone that I know I can get on 10, 20, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it is, and chop it up. I'm going to be doing a lot of shows like this on the go because I think that it's more important to go on a topic-to-topic basis. And what I mean by that, topics arise on a daily, right? The topics we talked about arise in the last couple of days, so it's perfect timing to talk about it. So whenever you're free again, my guy, if there's any topics that you may feel that need to be voiced or you want to talk about, hit me up. Let me know. We'll make it happen. I greatly appreciate you coming on. Let everyone know where they can find you on all things social media and what you got going on, brother.
So what I'm in the process of doing right now is I'm trying to get funding. I'm trying to get interest behind placing a UNLV alumni team into the TBT. It's $1 million prize for a 2-week tournament that consists of a lot of former professional players, guys that are really good that maybe didn't play professionally or collegiately, and a lot of alumni teams. And I think that we need to be represented in that tournament. Last year, Buffalo, one of my former players, Blake Hamilton, who's the older brother of Bryce Hamilton, his team, his alma mater, Buffalo University of Buffalo, they won the whole thing. And I just feel as though we have enough talent to field a good team, to represent Las Vegas and UNLV basketball very, very well. So I'm in the process of getting the funds together and the sponsorships together to put our representation, our representative in that tournament. So you can find information about me and the things that I'm doing at Coach Che Jones on Twitter. You also can look at what we're doing, what we're trying to do with that alumni team, and we're going to be called Rebels Running. Instead of running Rebels, we're Rebels Running, and we're going to be looking to not look back on the past, but use the past to propel ourselves into the future, and really, really, really embrace this culture, this brethren of UNLV basketball, and how it really, really changed not only our city but the culture.
Che, I got the video up from your Twitter page that you're talking about. I saw it the other day. I want to share this real quick for a lot of people that don't know about it. The TBT tournament is amazing. I've watched it on ESPN in the last couple of years. It's something completely different, and it's bringing you alumni. It's bringing you guys that if you watched your program, whether it was growing up, whether it was recently, you're going to find guys in there that are going to be like, man, I remember watching it. I remember going to this thing. I remember watching this guy live. So it's a great, great opportunity to get some great basketball, some great talent, and some great culture for those younger people that may not know a lot of these guys. It's a great opportunity to get out there. So I'm going to go ahead and share this real quick, Che, and then we'll go ahead and get out of here after that, my man. Let's see.
All right, man.
Harder, and we played harder.
The Rebels had developed an us-against-them mentality that was hard to overlook and easy to criticize.
We're at UNLV, you were basically saying, I too am a rebel, and I identify with their rebellious spirit.
UNLV came from behind to beat Georgia Tech to reach its first NCAA championship game.
You know, we're all basketball players, and we'll find out tonight who the better team is.
UNLV, the number one seed out of the West, they'll wear their home white. Henderson with a three to start the game, and Ottman makes away the first rebound down. No score yet. it's really going bad for Mike Krzyzewski's club. Everything is coming up. The running Reds. The running Reds are beginning their celebration. The Shark comes away a winner in a record-setting night. 103-73. UNLV.
No, I love UNLV. I love what I'm doing. I'll tell you, this win is for the kids, but mostly it's for the great people in the state of Nevada. The whole state supports us, and I'm just so happy for them.
The Rebels were something that we could all be proud of, and you can be proud to be from Las Vegas because of the Rebels.
There you go. Rebels running. If you guys don't know, now you know. Go out there and support my guy Chet and what he's trying to do. I'm excited, man. I'm going to be honest with you. And the fact that I know you and that you're the person that's trying to get this together, I know it's going to be an amazing squad, man. I know you're going to do the best that you can to get the best ball out there.
I watch that probably once a week, man. It still gives me goosebumps. I remember winning a national championship, and a lot of it I was in the back of my mind remembering us, in Denver, Sean Watkins and Anderson and Stacy and Larry and Moses and all those guys jumping around and cutting down nets. And when I got to go up there and cut down the net, I was like the most unbelievable thing in my life, and I still get goosebumps watching that video, man. That was it was the greatest thing, man. It's the greatest thing.
Well, my guy, greatly appreciate you. It's Friday. Go ahead and enjoy your weekend. I'm not sure if you're going to be out at the Vipers game or the Knights game or the Knights Hawks, anything. There's a lot of stuff going on this weekend. I think we got the Benavides Caleb Plant fight. If you're a boxing fan, that should be a great fight as well. But my guy, greatly appreciate you. Enjoy your time this weekend. Say hi to the wifey. It's been too long since we all got together.
Yes.
Mi casa, su casa. You already know that. My wife got along with yours. Let's chop it up. Let's have dinner. Let's do something soon, my brother.
Cool. We'll do that, man. Definitely.
All right, my man. You take care of yourself. Thank you so much.
All right, man. Thanks for having me.
Peace. There you go. Our guy, Chet Jones, Coach Chet Jones. Chet Malik, however you want to call him. A lot of people give him different names. But we greatly appreciate him joining us today. And all you guys that tuned in, chopped it up with us, we greatly appreciate you. You were tuned in to another episode of Straight Bet Sports live here from Las Vegas on our YouTube and Twitter pages and Facebook, of course, as well. We're going to go ahead and get on out of here. But look, man, I'll be at the Vipers game tomorrow, giving you guys some coverage from out there. Hopefully they can come out with the W. Vegas Nighthawks as well of the IFL. Home opener tomorrow night. We talked to Darius Geis last night. We're going to have that audio up here shortly as well. You guys remember him, former LSU running back and Washington Redskin running back as well. He's on the team. Yes, he will be playing there. So, guys, thank you so much for the love, the respect, and everything that you guys do for us and the show. We greatly appreciate you. Till next time, we are out. Peace.